Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be reading crazy stories centered around relationships. I found 5 stories from Reddit, and I'm going to read them while working on my forever world in Minecraft. My goal for this video is to start my first base. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the first story. The worst date of my life. Back when I was single and on apps, I matched with this guy and he's super cute. He had a mirror selfie, which was usually a hard pass for me, but he seemed sweet/nerdy, so I talked to him. He tells me how he's really worked on his body because he was heavy growing up and really awkward with women. I'm thinking, he doesn't realize he's hot. Anyway, I'm homesick that week and bored, so we message a lot and even FaceTime, and he's quirky but interesting and kind of funny. He seems to be pretty smart. He's working for a biotech firm and applying to doctorate programs. He tells me about how he has a daughter back home in Illinois, that she was the result of a one-time thing with a friend, that the friend didn't tell him he had a daughter until his daughter was 5, and that he barely gets to see her because she's being raised by the mom's friend. We wanted to meet soon anyway, and I agreed to a late movie because it was midweek, and neither of us had a ton of time, and we'd talked so much already. I kinda just wanted to be physically in the same room to see if there was any chemistry. We met at the theater, had a couple of drinks at the movie, and it was fine, and I was attracted. The second date is okay, but I'm feeling a little off. Something just feels funny, and I'm thinking, this isn't gonna be more than a friend thing. We end up going to his place to watch Blade Runner, and I'm uncomfortable within the first couple of minutes. His apartment has weird vibes, like super disorganized, and he's hung an old beach towel on the wall as a decoration. We sit down and start the movie, and I'm getting more and more uneasy. He leans over to kiss me, and I kiss back for a second, but then tell him I'm not ready for that, and can we please slow it down? He says that's fine and stops the movie. He then proceeds to tell me he's in love with me. He's dumped his longtime fiancée, who lives in Illinois, to be with me, and that he would like us to move in together as soon as possible and try to have a baby. I think he's joking at first, but quickly realize he isn't. He asks me if I will say I'm his girlfriend out loud anyway. I fake yawn and tell him I'm exhausted, and it's a work night, and I really want to see him tomorrow, so I'm just going to go home and get some rest. He looks totally crestfallen, but says, okay, but before you go, will you do me a favor? At that point, I think I'm about to be hurt. I say, what is it? He asks, will you stand in front of a mirror with me so that I can see how beautiful we look together? Absolutely terrified at this point, I walk toward his room anyway. We walk into his room and it is a disaster. Piles and piles of clothes everywhere. We stand in front of the mirror, briefly, and then I say, I really have to go, grab my bag and refuse his offer to walk me to my car. I then straight up run to my car. I got home and checked my phone, and there were several messages. I shudder thinking of them. I now realize that the reason he isn't in his daughter's life is probably because the mother realized he was disturbed, and she had a very good reason to keep him in the dark. I get nauseated just thinking about him. I quit dating for a while and never put myself in another situation like that again. Alright, moving on to the second story. My ex moved out. Then I found this in my bed. 6 months into a relationship, my girlfriend and I decided to rent an apartment and move in together. After a couple months of living with each other, she decided she wasn't happy and wanted to break up with me and move out. After a day of discussing everything, we came up with a plan for her to move out a few days later while I was at work. The breakup went really smooth. No fighting, no pettiness. The most adult ending to a relationship I'd ever been through. Move out day came. I went to work while she moved her stuff. She sent me text apologizing for things not working out, wanting to stay friends and so on. I agreed. I came home after work. Her things were gone, and she even cleaned the apartment before she left. I had a few drinks that night, got a little buzzed, climbed into bed, and immediately felt something sharp on my legs. She had taken light bulbs and shattered them under the bed comforter. A lot of stitches between both legs. I text her from the hospital asking why she would do that. She said she was mad I didn't put up more of a fight for our relationship. Keep in mind, she was the one that wanted to end things. I used those texts to press charges. She tried to Facebook me about a year later. I did not respond. Alright, on to the third story. My cousin tried to break us up. Then I found her diary. I have been going out with my boyfriend for almost 3 years. This story goes back to the beginning of our relationship. I got a lot of crap from my cousin when we started dating. My cousin has been dating my brother-in-law for 4 years. So to make sure everyone understands, we're 2 cousins going out with 2 brothers. My cousin and I grew up close, since we're close in age. She was basically my only friend throughout my life, or so I thought. When I started dating my boyfriend, she completely changed. We met at a family gathering, where my brother-in-law had invited his brother, and things really hit off between us two. The thing is, about a month before we started dating, My cousin and I went out for lunch. She told me during that time that she was unfaithful to my brother-in-law and has no regrets. At the beginning, I didn't say much about him to her because I could sense she wouldn't like the idea of us being together. When she found out, she started talking bad about me to him and talked bad about him to me. Anything to keep us apart. At that time, my boyfriend was living with brother-in-law and cousin, so during weekends I would sometimes sleep over. She made every effort to make me feel unwelcome. This went on until we moved together, so around 8 months after. The morning we moved, I was in the living room waiting for my boyfriend to finish showering, and there was a notebook on the living room table. I didn't think much of it at first, but curiosity got the best of me. It was filled with diary entries from my cousin, a lot of them saying bad stuff about me, and also one where she was thinking about my boyfriend. She wrote that, since hair salons were closed during the pandemic, her boyfriend asked if she could shave his hair, and my boyfriend's hair also. I don't remember everything, but it was something about always dreaming to be so close to him, and finally having an excuse to be close to him. Since we moved together, it hasn't been as bad since we don't see them often, but it remains one of the most dramatic events of my life. There's still a lot of tension, and things are still weird, but we have kids now, so we keep things civilized and friendly. Alright, on to the fourth story. This is a long one, but it was so interesting to me. I found out my soulmate has been engaged this whole time. Am I stupid for considering taking her back? I've been on and off with this girl since college, roughly 8 years. She's now 28, and I'm going to be a 30-year-old man. Regardless of the status/technicality of our relationship, we have always been inseparable. We still wanted each other after 8 years. Even though it's been so long, we still feel like teenagers when we are together. About 5 years ago, we decided to move to Dublin, Ireland for her to attend a graduate program. Long story short, I left my job and ran out of money within 5 months and was not able to get a visa. I also had a medical issue that needed to be attended to and could not get it checked out due to a non-visa status. I returned home and I broke up with her about 8 weeks later. To me, we just seemed to be in two completely different phases in our lives, and I thought once she came back, we would rekindle things. So anyway, I moved to Boston and she stayed in Ireland to finish her master's. She came home from time to time, and despite being broken up, we still hung out numerous times. It got to the point where I was ready to commit. I did everything I could to make her happy and convince her to stay instead of returning to Ireland for a new job upon her graduation. She said no. I then told her it's over and deleted her from everything. Fast forward 5 months and she's crying on my front steps. She told me she made a mistake and was back for good. After a long conversation, I said the only way this could potentially work, because I was still in love with her, was that she moved down the street from me and got a job in Boston. She did both within a month. I came to find out that she was engaged and had broken it off for me when we rekindled things. We were together for 2 years, traveled everywhere, and had the time of our lives. I took her on surprise vacations and did everything I possibly could for her. My biggest mistake was taking her for granted, and I promised to never do that again, so I showered her with love. Early last year, we were about to get a place together, but it was too expensive, and we decided to wait. I didn't think it was that big of a deal because she slept at my house 4 nights a week anyway, and there were no signs of issues. In August of last year, I took a trip up to Maine to see my family. She was supposed to come up and stay for a few days, but said she had to fly to South Carolina because her mom was sick. While her communication became spotty, she said she got chickenpox, and that was the reason she couldn't come back for a couple of months. She could always do remote work as well, so I believed her. She returned on Halloween weekend, and we had an amazing time together, and I was so happy to see her. Then she disappeared, and the communication, which I thought would improve, didn't. I went to her house down the street to confront her on this nonsense, and came to find out she didn't live there anymore. She claimed she had to move home 2 hours away from me because now her dad was sick and her student loans kicked in, and she couldn't afford where she lived and saw it as a good opportunity to help her dad. The reason she didn't tell me was that she was embarrassed and worried that I wouldn't understand. I was obviously floored, but was understanding eventually and just wanted her family to be well. Every time I asked to come see her, there was an excuse, and I knew something was up. I started doing research. I wouldn't believe what I found. She removed me from all social media and claimed she didn't have a Facebook or Instagram anymore. I got a couple of people I knew she didn't know to look her up. The reality: she moved back to Ireland in August of 2019 and was not actually sick, nor was her mother and father. I discovered a wedding page with her and obviously her fiancé, the same one she said she turned down, and that they were living together in Dublin with his family. The wedding is set for May, and guess who showed back up at my doorstep a couple of weeks ago? You guessed it, I played dumb, and we had an amazing time, which we always do. It doesn't matter the circumstances. We still can't get enough of each other. The last day she was here, I called her out on everything, and she started crying and finally came clean. To her, it was the biggest mistake going back there and lying to me. But she said the main reason was because this person was a part of a great family, and she grew up poor so it would be beneficial to all. Mostly coerced by her money-focused family. She now says the wedding is not happening because she and her fiancé or ex literally called it off because they don't like each other anymore, and it's toxic. Due to the fact that she admitted she still is in love with me. She feels trapped in this horrible mistake and says she can't live without me. Her plan is to move back to Boston as soon as possible. I never thought I would be in this situation in a million years. I know what the right thing to do is cut her off and never talk to her again, but I fear I'll regret leaving her for the rest of my life. No matter how good I have it with someone else, eventually I think I'll be living a lie since I left my soulmate, so I feel right now. I hate to admit it, but I am still head over heels for this girl, and I am trying to justify that we both made mistakes. I left her in Ireland, then she left me for Ireland. But is this just too crazy to work, or do we both know this is forever now? Alright, on to the fifth and final story. This is the craziest one, in my opinion. He ended up in the dryer at my apartment complex in the middle of the night, not fully dressed and crying. Yes, you read that correctly, and no, I am not making this up. I found this guy on a dating app, and he really was a nice guy, if a little strange good looking too. We dated for about several months, during which time he slowly revealed that he was hearing things that he couldn't possibly be hearing. His upstairs neighbors or my roommate were talking bad about him, even though I couldn't hear a thing, and he started to get paranoid. This all came to a climax one night when we were at a comedy club with some of my friends. He had been acting strange all night and thought my friends hated him. I was sitting between them. They had even told me previously that they liked him. He left before the show started, and I didn't see him again until 8 months later. My roommate was getting ready for work one morning. She gets up around 5:30 a.m. She heard strange noises coming from the laundry room, which shared a wall with the hallway of our apartment. She thought the loud wailing sounds were from our neighbor's crazy friend, and that she'd have to deal with her when she went in the laundry room to get her bike. But when she went in there, she couldn't see anyone and wasn't sure where the sound was coming from. She searched around and was looking under the table, across from the washer and dryer, when she heard the dryer door being pulled shut. She was about to open the door, but thought better of it and went to wake me up from sleep for help. I got up and could hear the crying, so I went out to the laundry room and opened the door. At this point, the person who had previously occupied the dryer was lying face down and was not fully dressed on the linoleum floor. I asked if they were okay not knowing who it was, and there was no response. I told my roommate to call the police, and while she was on the phone, this person gets up. He was actually wearing mirrored aviator sunglasses and walked past us and into our apartment. He sat on one of our chairs and proceeded to give me a hard stare while my roommate was outside speaking with the police and her work explaining what was happening. He was in our apartment over the course of an hour while the police and later the paramedics checked him out, and he did not say one word. The most he did was make a strange growling noise while he gave whoever was speaking that angry stare. Finally, the paramedics took him to the hospital, and I never saw him again. Alright, that was the final story. Let me know if you want more videos like this. Thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you guys in the next one. Subscribe, and see you later.